Well, thank you so very much again for spending a little bit of your time with us today. I will go ahead and get us started by welcoming all of you again. This might be your first introduction to us, to Mindfulness First, or you might be a fan and have been familiar with Mindfulness First for quite some time. You are going to see and hear three of us on today's Lunch and Learn. My name is Jarrett Ransom, and I'm going to serve as one of the co-hosts as we interview Tony Williams today. But we are so honored to have Sunny White joining us. Sunny is the co-founder and executive director of Mindfulness First. Sunny, I would love for you to share a little bit about yourself, the organization, and just a brief little origin story, if you don't mind, before we get started.
Yeah, thank you, Jarrett. Thank you so much to you and Tony for being here today. Mindfulness first started, as you said, 10 years ago. We just had our 10th birthday, and we started because I had experienced a stress-induced breakdown and had utilized the tools that we now teach to children and adults. I had utilized those tools to help heal from my sickness, and it transformed my life. And I had learned about trauma, mindfulness, and social emotional learning, and I just kept thinking, I
Mm.
don't know why I didn't learn this at school. I think this should be in schools, and this should be part of everyone's education. And so, alongside our co-founder Kim, who had had a lifetime of mindfulness for herself, her family's very mindful. Um, we started teaching in schools, and that grew and grew. And we began teaching in communities and businesses. We started helping adults to catch up, right, from the stuff that we wish they'd learned at school. And here we are, 10 years later. We've impacted over 500,000 people, and this is just such a pleasure to be here today and share what we do, so that perhaps businesses can learn how to bring this to their employees.
Thank you so much, Sunny. And I think it is so important to remind everyone, regardless of your age, of joining us and joining Mindfulness First, you can start at any time. And I think that's very important. Tony, I would love to pass it over to you. Tony Williams joins us today. He's going to be, I'm going to call it the hot seat, Tony, because we've got some questions to ask you. But if you would just briefly share with us a little bit about yourself.
Sounds good. Thank you, Jarrett and Sunny, for having me. I currently serve on the mindfulness board under the business and community area. And I was introduced to Sunny by another member of I would say, the family and council that connected us. And I have a background as a yoga teacher. As I love to work in the community. So I've been on the volunteer chair for the American Diabetes Association, leading the Tour to Cure activities. And I've been part in various companies' health and wellness programs, helping to, formulate healthy living, whether it's around diabetes or getting on a bicycle, whatever it may be, losing weight, finding ways to be healthier. Has always been a passion of mine in helping to serve the community, and I'm glad to be here today.
We are so glad to have you. Thank you for sharing, and Sunny, you as well. We are going to start with a mindful moment. So we are practicing what we're sharing right here together during this time. Sunny, if you would get us started with this pause.
I would love to. Okay, so I'm going to invite everybody to please take a comfortable seat. If you'd like to put your feet firmly on the ground, symmetrically on the ground, put your hands on your lap, perhaps, or on the desk in front of you. And you can close your eyes if you want to, but if you don't want to close your eyes, maybe just focus on something in front of you. And what I'm going to do is create a little distraction here by ringing a mindfulness bell. So I'd like you to pay attention to the sound of the bell, and until you can't hear it anymore, and then I will direct you to noticing your breath. So nice deep breath in, everybody. And as the bell starts to fade, let's take all of our attention to the feeling and the sensations of our breathing as it comes in and out of the body. Breathing in, breathing out. Where do you feel it? Maybe in your chest, maybe in your belly. Breathing in and out. And soften your shoulders. Separate your teeth. Just keep focusing on that breath. You have nothing else to do right now. Just relaxing. And maybe one more big deep breath in and out. And now you can gently, slowly bring your attention back to the screen and join us as
Thank you,
we
Sunny.
continue. Yes, you're welcome.
That was beautiful. And again, a reminder, it can be done at any time. So I don't know about you, Tony. I needed that mindful moment before we move into the Q&A. So as a reminder for all of you, this lunch and learn, it's a matter of 30 minutes. So we're really just scratching the topic of mindfulness and bringing to you some practical mindful moments that you can begin to take action and implement right away. But we are so very privileged to have with us today Tony Williams to answer some questions and to truly speak from that business mindset, if you would. So Tony, I have a couple of questions for you. Also would love to invite those that have joined us live for today's conversation. Please take advantage. I believe we have the Q&A open as well as the chat. So if there's anything that comes to mind to you, you would like to ask a question of Tony while we have his time with us today, please go ahead and utilize those tools that are available to you during this time. But Tony, I'm going to start off with a question that I really think is probably top of mind for so many individuals. And it is probably a very basic question, but a very important one. And that question is, why should businesses prioritize mental health? What is the importance of that?
I think first and foremost is awareness of productivity declines as a result of burnout, stress, that are the key indicators that to your business. So everyone wants productive employees, but in order to make them productive, we need to make sure that they're doing well and they have the best wellness that they can have. First starts with awareness from the company, from the leader, and from the employee.
Mm. You know, that's so very important. I'm curious, a little bit of a curveball question. I myself have not worked at many places that does keep this a center of focus. Have you worked at, I'm just going to say, all of the places, throughout your career? Have they all prioritized this? This is totally off the cuff question, but I'm just curious for you to speak from your standpoint, Tony. How often have you seen this in practice from your personal standpoint?
I would say so. My experience at American Express, Charles Schwab, General Motors, it has been a top priority for human resources to make sure there's a linkage to the employee benefits and health and wellness. And I think everyone would say that they have a portal, they have links, they have articles, they have videos that help support the program. However, I would also say at the same time, it takes a level of accountability and ownership by the leaders of the company and also the employee to embrace it, to practice it. And that's part of the ownership. The programs are there, But if you don't have the awareness, we'll discuss more of that today. You may not know that you're not doing as well as you probably think.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. And I know it was a curveball, but you were ready for it. The second question that we want to ask you is if you personally, Tony, can share with us anecdotally
Hmm.
any outcomes and any benefits that you've seen by truly making mental health a priority within the workplace.
Absolutely. I think as a leader, first, I try to lead by example. I try to ask the right questions of my staff and organization. How are you doing? And not just in town halls and not just it's hard because we're not all in the hallways now, but
Right.
it could be in our Zoom meetings or WebEx's team meetings to ask that question not only as an individual but as a team, and you'll be surprised that they will give you honest reaction whether they're stressed, overwhelmed, in need of prioritization. These are all indicators that you need to do more. And so some of the things that I do, it's a tip for anyone in the corporate arena, is incorporate it into your meetings. So maybe you take time at the end of the meeting, give time back. So you give 5 minutes back so they can do whatever they want to do. Maybe they take one of the exercises, a mindful practice, they institute that, or they just get a break before the next meeting. I myself, I take the opportunity to incorporate mindfulness by doing practices in the meeting. And it could be simple as we did one this week where it's a triangle breathing. So it's a triangle that goes up on your screen. As it goes up, you take an inhale, and as it goes down, you take an exhale. And you'd be surprised how effective this is. It was so effective that in subsequent meetings, when the meetings got stressful, people would IM in the chat a triangle, which was a message to breathe. It was kind of funny, but also at the same time very effective in terms of how the team is embracing symbolically a breathing exercise.
That one's powerful. I love that. And then to see the employees truly put it into practice to
Yeah,
hold each other accountable and to remind each other, well, what a wonderful opportunity there. Thank you for sharing that. Our third
absolutely.
question we have for you today, Tony, is what do you believe or have you seen as some of the barriers that companies are facing that might prevent the businesses from taking, the priority of mental health, like really using that as an area for opportunity? What are you seeing might be showing up as a barrier or a challenges that businesses might be facing today?
I would say the natural pressures of business and business goals are a constraint, and it's also time. How do you pull people into additional exercises that may be perceived as more work or taking them away from the job at hand? So I think it's more of a constraint. It could be prioritization, but I think if I were to flip it around, I think it's more of how do you enable mindfulness? So everyone knows there's a portal and go to the benefit site, but you have to enable it and you have to institutionalize it in a way that's easy and it's practical. And in some cases, it could just it could be like I said, instituting things in meetings,
Mhm.
taking a walk break. But I think the employees need these signals. They need to know it's okay. They need to know it's okay to tell their leader that I'm not feeling well today. That dialogue is very important because most employees in corporate America, they're already anxious about their job, the pressure, the goals, and performing. So they may be a little insecure to saying, I'm not doing too well today. But what is important to know as the leader of that company is that if you can get in front of this, you can make this employee more productive and more healthy.
And that's really important. So thank you for bringing that to our attention. So as we're discussing today, we are in Q4 of the year, but I know throughout every quarter there are stresses and stressors that come onto us as employees, as people, right? As we move about our busy days, whether it's as a professional or a personal, reason. also moving into the holidays where I personally struggle, right? And so having these mindfulness opportunities, I think, is really important as we move forward in this space. Tony, thank you for answering those questions. I would love to move us into the next opportunity you have for us here, and you are going to anchor us. Is that right? Anchor into ourself, and you're going to give us another opportunity and a tool to be mindful. I'm going to let you take it away from here.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jared. Yeah, we're going to go through a grounding exercise. So this exercise is to help us stay in the current moment, the present moment. A lot of us feel pressures of our day, whether you're running your own business, a nonprofit, or corporation. We all have that hurricane that we deal with. And when a hurricane arises, this is a tool technique that you can use whether you're not in a meeting, but you're walking, you're standing, you could be laying down, you could be standing in a crowd and practice this 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding exercise to help you stay in the moment, maybe reduce some worry and anxiety, and it's something you can do every day. So I'm going to take you through that now. So first, close your eyes, and we're just going to go through a few cleansing inhales through the nose and out of the mouth. So inhale, exhale through the mouth. Inhale and exhale. And I'm going to take you through 5 senses, and it's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So as you open your eyes, I want you to pick out 5 objects in front of you and just try to focus on the detail of those objects. It could be a picture. It could be maybe you're looking out at your landscape. And if you're good at visualizing, maybe your eyes are looking at a beach, but whatever you're looking at, just kind of focus on it and become aware. Maybe it's in your peripheral vision. Just focus on that. Next, we're going to look for 4 sounds. So you're actually going to use your hearing and listen for 4 sounds that you may hear, including the humming of your computer. Maybe it's birds, maybe it's kids in the background. Whatever the sounds are, just try to acknowledge what you're hearing. Maybe it's quiet where you are, and just notice that. Now focus on 3 body sensations. So maybe it's the pressure of your seat, maybe on your back or your sit bones. Maybe it's your feet grounding on the floor. The texture of your clothes on your body. So just focus on those sensations. Next, focus on 2 things you can smell. So maybe some of you have that Friday potluck or a slow cooker on, and at that meal, you can smell that. Maybe you smell the fabric that you're wearing. Just focus on the smell. And finally, I want you to just notice how you feel right now, whatever that may be. Just notice it. Become more aware. This practice is designed just to bring you back to your surroundings. Be more present during that eye of the hurricane. Take time to acknowledge where you are, your surroundings, control that, and become more present and less worried about things around you. And just note, how do you feel before and after? So try practicing this every day. It's a grounding exercise. So I hope this helps. And I'm glad to have had the opportunity to take you through it today.
Thank you so much, Tony. I love this reminder. I have heard of this anchoring exercise before, but I have to be honest, days are busy, right? And there's a lot of noise out there. So how might we remind ourselves in those busy, noisy moments? We have this tool. Any tips on how we can simply remind ourselves we have this tool, and now, no matter when and where you are, you could be on a busy transit, train, you could be on an airplane, you could be driving the car. Do you have any tip on how we can just like turn inside ourselves and say, now's a great time to use this tool?
I think the more you practice, the more you become aware that you get into a mode of either if your nervous system is fight, flight, or run. And once you get into that, you feel a sense of tension. You want to take a deep breath. It could
Yeah.
be in a meeting. Someone could be asking you in a panel interview a question. It's just taking a moment to take that breath, like we did earlier with Sunny. So I think it's you have to become more aware, and you will as you continue to practice. And when you feel that maybe I'm feeling a little tense, or maybe my breath is just a little choppy, it's time to take a deep breath. And it could be as easy as that, taking a deep breath before moving forward, taking that next step.
Wow. Well, thank you so very much. As we move forward in this, and again, we are barely scratching the surface, but some of the things that you might want to think about as you went through the bell reflection with Sunny, the questions with Tony, the anchoring exercise, just pay attention to how did that feel for you? And I love one of Tony's questions, and maybe it was Sunny's, is where in your body do you feel that, right? Like, where are you feeling that resonating? And then how do you feel? How do you yourself feel as you move through these opportunities? Notice if you found it easy or if you might have found it difficult for a practice. And I'm hoping, Tony, just as you said, the more we do it, the more we practice, the more it becomes kind of, we don't have to be so intentional about it. It naturally takes shape for itself. And then to also notice, like, did anything else unexpected occur? Right? Was there anything else that might have taken shape? Sunny, I would love for you to share with us just a little in this reflection space. What have you noticed throughout your mindfulness journey? You've been practicing for quite some time now, and so I can only imagine it's a bit of an evolution. But what are some reflections, if you're willing to share with us, that maybe you've personally experienced yourself that we can also perhaps look forward to?
Yeah, that's a big question, Jarrett. There's so much to share, and I have to say, the first thing that comes to mind for me is to be really kind to yourself
Mm.
when you're starting out something like this. This sort of once you're when you're learning how to be mindful and practice mindfulness, and
Mhm.
you never ever perfect it. It's never done, right?
Yeah.
So, being kind to yourself about how you forget to do it. When you do it, you are starting to think about your to-do list, right? That's going on. That's really normal. And I've been practicing since 2009, and that's all still going on for me.
Sure.
So I have to practice being very kind and compassionate to myself. And that in of itself is a mindfulness practice, self-compassion. And so that would be my it's one of my biggest takeaways and my biggest pieces of advice. If you're just starting out, have some kindness and self-compassion.
Always a great answer, right? Give yourself grace, be kind to yourself, just as you would to someone else. So that was a big question, Sunny, and you, of course, knocked it out of the park. So I appreciate you sharing so personally with us about that. Again, for those of you that have joined us today for this opportunity, a lunch and learn, although you could be on another time zone and we might be finishing up your day, we are so glad that you joined us. If you are interested in learning more, there are a couple of ways you can contact us, but the most direct opportunity is to simply email us at programming@mindfulnessfirst.org. Our team here would be more than happy to schedule a meeting with you. And if you'd like to learn more holistically about the mission and the organization and what we're up to, please do go ahead and scan the QR code that you can see on your screen. We are always here, happy to be of service. Tony, as a board member and an individual who is very involved in our business and community practices, we are so very honored to have you join us for this today, Tony. Thank you so much. And of course, to you, Sunny, as the co-founder and executive director, celebrating 10th anniversary here at Mindfulness First. It's a big mission, it's a critical mission, and it is so very important for each and every one of us. So please do contact us. Again, you can scan that QR code right now as you're watching, but you could also email us. And again, for those of you listening, that email is programming@mindfulnessfirst.org. From the entire team here at Mindfulness First, we want to say thank you. We also realize that it is a Friday, or as I like to call it, a Fry-yay, and a holiday one. So please do enjoy your weekend. We wish you all the best. Thank you for joining us today, and we hope that you'll come back and learn more about us. Thank you to Tony, and thank you also to Sunny.
Thank you.
Thank you.